I have a good, solid reason for doubting near-death experiences. Now I'm going to share with you. I so badly want to believe in them, but how can I when the evidence against near-death experiences tells me that they just may be illusions. Sweet illusions created by the deepest mind to ease the person who is dying in such a way so that the person doesn't have to die. If that makes any damn sense, if it doesn't make any sense, think about that for a little bit. Selah. Let's discuss Howard Storm's near-death experience. He wrote a book called Mild Descent into Death. And let's discuss his contemporary, Dr. Georgey Ritchie III. He had a near-death experience in 1943, I believe, or 1945, something like that. Hell, no, I think it was something like that. Who cares if I get the damn date wrong? Just as long as I get the damn experience right, damn it. Anyways, let's discuss the fallacies in Dr. Georgey Ritchie's near-death experience. That makes me have to conclude it may be bullshit. It may be fucking goddamn bullshit. Shit. Shit. When he died for 9 minutes in that Texas hospital in Berkeley, when he came back, in his book Return from the Morrow, he writes he was devastated that had to come back, that he would have been angry with those who labored to revive him had he had the strength. Other places in this book, My Life After Dying, Order to Return, Return from the Morrow, 3 books he wrote. Well, actually, don't give any credence to his book Return from the Morrow. He told me over the telephone in 2002 that book was written by Elizabeth Sherrill. She injected her fundamentalist theology in that book. So I asked him, so can I just throw in the trash Return from the Morrow? He thought, yes. He told me I need to read Order to Return or My Life After Dying to see the way it truly happened, according to him. Not according to his fundamentalist person, Elizabeth Sherrill, who also co-wrote the book The Cross and the Switchblade. He said that. Anyways, in his book, he writes, he was sitting on a chateau praying to be allowed to die again. This is he had his near-death experience. Saw Jesus. Experience of love he could not have possibly comprehended. This Jesus knew everything about him. Showed him everything he ever did with his life. All the good, the bad, but permeating all that he was seeing was the fact that Jesus loved him unconditionally. When I first read the book in 1986, I was profoundly affected. And inside me was born a desire to be loved by God and Jesus and the Holy Ghost. See, before that, I didn't care about God's love. I saw it as, so what? Ho-hum. It's not really love like a best friend would love me. All I cared about was getting through those pearly gates, not going to hell. And then after that, I was hoping I'd be able to eat and pig out and go to heaven and not just have to sing songs of praise to God. Anyways, that's another story. Dr. Georgey Ritchie, in his book Return from the Morrow, relates how he wanted to die again, so to be ushered back into the presence of Christ. he was on the chateau grounds one day praying to be allowed to die. When some military officer came out and said, "Get up, Ritchie. The wounded are coming." Words to this effect: "The wounded are coming in." And Georgey Ritchie had been trained as a medical tech. So that he was a medical man, a doctor in the army. There are other places. Dr. Georgey Ritchie just wanted to die, and he said he writes in another place in Return from Tomorrow. There were times when I was just feet away from dying, feet away from that leap into his presence, we bodily creatures called death. And in his book, Order to Return from Tomorrow, he was about to get on an transport to be transported for some entertainment in Paris, when a voice inside him told him, "Get off this carrier and write Margaret," that was his wife, a letter. But he argued with the voice inside him, saying, "I fought too hard to get this passed. Besides, what would the other soldiers think when I give my pass up?" But the voice said again, "Get off this carrier and go write Margaret a letter." So confused, he handed his pass to the officer, who looked at him in confusion, and they handed his pass to another soldier. Well, the carrier hit a landmine, and the soldier who had taken his place was killed. And Dr. Georgey Ritchie relates how he was angry because he wanted to be the one who died so he could see Jesus again. Why did God allow this soldier to be killed when he just wanted to live, and I wanted to die, and he made me live? So it's apparent from reading all three books that Georgey Ritchie, after he had his near-death experience, he wanted to die and go see Jesus. He wanted to die permanently and be with Jesus forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But there's a major flaw in this law that told me that near-death experiences are produced by the assembly language zeros and one that make up the computer of your superego, your subconscious, and your conscious personality. You see, in his book, Order to Return and My Life After Dying, he was guarding a bunch of German soldiers when his own, the Americans, and when his own army personnel had put him in front of the front lines, and his own Americans, and suddenly German shells started falling, exploding all around him, and he heard a German shell straight above his head cut out, and the whistle, the ominous whistling as the shell was falling down towards the ground where he was. His German prisoners took off and ran, hauled ass. And Dr. Georgey Ritchie writes this, and this really disturbs me. "I hit the ground, praying I would not be killed." What the fuck? All through his book, he writes how he wanted to die again and be with Jesus. But when the rubber hit the road, when reality faced him square in the face, when death stared in his eyes, Dr. Georgey Ritchie blinked. Dr. Georgey Ritchie hit the ground, praying I would not be killed, he writes. So, Dr. Georgey Ritchie, you really did not believe all this bullshit about your near-death experience. Your conscious level did. Your subconscious never did, but deep inside, the zeros and ones of the computer of your personality knew that it had made up its entire experience. Because it thought your entire personality was about to die. So it eased you. It was trying to ease you by what's called an illusion of meeting Jesus Christ. So that when you died, you would not actually die. You would be thinking you were in the presence of Jesus, and suddenly, without knowing that, you'd go out of existence. Game over. The end. Lights out. Show's over. That right there in your experience. I can't say that enough. I heard the shell overhead cut out, the ominous whistling, and I knew it was coming down. I hit the ground, praying I would not be killed. What's wrong with this picture? He met Jesus face to face. It's just an illusion. It was just an illusion. But when the time came that he might be about to die, all of a sudden he no longer wants to die. He wants to live. Because you see the zeros and ones of his assembly language. No. Once you're dead, game over. Lights out. The end. Now, I do believe in Jesus as Lord, but I'm having my serious doubts. Some in me still believes in Jesus, but I'm disgusted with these putrid, hypocritical, half-baked, illusion, near-death experiences that are not real. They're not real, they're not real, they're not real, they're not real. If it's not real, I do not wish to feel. Why can't you be good to me? Quote from a Tina Turner song. I don't want no spiritual experience if it's not fucking real. Fuck that goddamn shit. So, Dr. Georgey Ritchie is the man who said the biggest misconception of Christianity was that Jesus came to die. Dr. Georgey Ritchie says, show me anywhere in that Bible where it says Jesus came to die. You won't find that. It's plain as the nose on your face. Jesus did not come to die. Dr. Georgey Ritchie said that. I could point to a verse of scripture in John where Jesus says, and what Jesus himself says, the Jesus he supposedly met in Berkeley, Texas, in that hospital at Camp Berkeley. I can show you what Jesus says. What shall I say? Father, save me from this hour, but for this cause came I into the world. And what was that hour? The hour was Jesus was crucified, died. So Dr. Georgey Ritchie, you have been caught with your hand in the cookie jar, telling the bold fake, telling a lie. You liar. You see, that really fucking pisses me off. Because back in 1996, 1997, all the way through 1995, Dr. Georgey Ritchie's experience as recorded and returned from tomorrow gave me extreme, tremendous hope. Made me able to sleep at night because it constantly, when I doubted whether there was life after death. When I saw my Aunt Joan's dead mother in that casket, and was terrorized at the thought of death to be the end. Shortly thereafter, I went to the Bible bookstore. I had remembered reading it in 1986 and 87 with my grandma's, but I could not find the book, so I went to the Bible bookstore in 1994 and purchased a paperback book and read that book again and again and over and over and over. It was so sweet. It was so sweet to my soul. I imagine Dr. Georgey Ritchie being, if I wanted to meet him so badly, I imagine he would have been a caring, loving person. But then I met the author. And the author had no love in his soul towards me. Any love of Jesus he had in his soul, he ran out of gas when he got to me. He showed me absolutely no love. No love whatsoever. None, zero, nada. In fact, he changed the phone number after I called him the second time. He changed the telephone number. I had to research and find his second telephone number. I called him, and then he changed the number, his number a third time. And I couldn't find it until about 5 years later. I was able to get his number and called him again, and he talked to me that last time in 2007, but I felt no love coming for that goddamn motherfucker. Now in 2007, October, I think, I came home from a family gathering at the Cracker Barrel, I think. I was profoundly sad for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't know why. I was profoundly sad. And then I shortly thereafter found out later that Georgey Ritchie had died, taking forever with him any chance of loving me or telling me what his near-death experience was like. Thanks a lot. Don't you just love it when people who have an inside track to Jesus Christ don't act like it? Doesn't it make you doubt God? No, because I don't believe he met the Jesus Christ. I believe it was either a figment of his imagination or it was the devil, the counterfeit angel of light. On that telephone with me, Dr. Georgey. Let me tell you how cold he was. In 1989, I went off. I was going to call the Unitarian Universalist Church, and I was going to convert them to Christianity. I was going to tell them how to get saved, and I was going to make them believe in the Trinitarian God. So I called them. I started talking to I don't know if he was a pastor or what. But he said when he answered the phone before I said anything, his tone of voice was like a morgue slab, cold, emotionless. Started talking with him. He's like, "That's all good, but I have a question for you. Does your religion produce fruits?" I'm like, "Yes." And he answered, "Because Jesus says, by their fruits ye shall know them." Click. He hung up on my ass. Dr. Georgey Ritchie's tone of voice, and so is Howard Storm, so I called him on the telephone. I called Howard Storm first, and Howard Storm gave me Dr. Georgey Ritchie's telephone number because I had read in the preface of his book, My Descent into Death, it was written by Dr. Georgey Ritchie III. Dr. Georgey Ritchie wrote the preface or the preview of his book, My Descent into Death. So Howard Storm gave me, but both of them, when they spoke to me, that tone of voice told me I got better things to do to talk with some stranger like you. Now Howard Storm, I read his near-death experience. I first heard of his near-death experience in 1997. In 1996, I had seen a show where they could duplicate the out-of-body experience part of a near-death experience. And this devastated me, threw me, shook all reassurances I had and comfort I had from near-death experiences, catapulting me back into that death anxiety where I was afraid to go to sleep. Because the unconsciousness of sleep is but a foretaste of the final eternal oblivion at death when you die. So I would lay in bed for 2 or 3 hours, unable to fall asleep because of the death anxiety. Because I was still young, I was able to finally go to sleep without having to take trazodone. I saw Unsolved Mysteries. Howard Storm's. I didn't know the name of the man. I just saw the near-death experience, and saw that it glorified Jesus. And I also thought about that experience time and time again when trying to fall asleep. Able to comfort myself. Maybe there is still a life after death. I finally, in 2002, found out the name of the man and the book, and went to Barnes and Nobles in Greenville to buy it. I read the book, but there's one thing in that book that bothers me. How Storm was tormented by demons. Not by being demons, but how I believe they were demons. How Storm says there were other people who died and missed it, the point of being alive. And so help me God, if I look middle-aged, screw you, God, kill me. Let me go to heaven. I don't want to live if I can't look young. Fuck you if I look middle-aged. If I don't get my head full of hair, fuck you. And you son of a bitch. I just don't care if I can't get my head full of hair, if I can't be a good-looking guy. I don't care about God judging me. I don't give a fuck about. I just want to get into heaven by the skin of my fucking teeth. If I can be a good-looking guy, have my head full of hair. God, fuck it. Now I got off track. What was I talking about? The part that really disturbed me in his book, My Descent into Death. Howard Storm writes, and I quote, "It became an obsession with me to wonder whether my experience was real or was brought on by the extreme trauma of dying." Howard Storm, you met Jesus Christ, and you had doubts whether it was real? Ask any old-time religion preacher. Ask any old-time Southern Baptist or Free Will Baptist preacher, do you doubt for one moment that you met Jesus? They will tell you, I know I met Jesus. I have no doubts whatsoever. Can I get a witness up in here? Someone could point a gun at their head and threaten to kill them unless they deny Jesus. They'd say, I cannot deny Jesus. I know he's real. And they would let the person blow his brains out. Would you do the same, Howard Storm? Or would you have doubts? Hey, have I been fooling myself all along? Maybe I should deny Jesus and I'll just ask for forgiveness after the man with the gun goes home. When Howard Storm says he was raped, sexually assaulted by other people who had died in his near-death experience. They tore him up. They literally ate his ass up alive. He described the physical pain as a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, but the mental pain was even worse than the physical pain. That's the case for me. I'd rather be tormented mentally than physically. I hate physical pain. If I had to spend an eternity being tormented mentally, I could live with that, but being tormented physically, fuck that shit. I'd rather be tormented mentally than physically. Howard Storm was treated worse than any Jew who was tortured in the Auschwitz or the German hate camps or the extermination camps or the gas chambers. You ask one of those Jews who was in Auschwitz at the time, you would never hear one say, hey, sometimes I wonder if it happened. He knows it happened. And yet here, Howard Storm, he was beat down by other dead people. Spirit. He met Jesus. He knew that Jesus loved him. And yet, it became an obsession with him. Howard Storm writes, it became an obsession with me to wonder whether all this was real or just brought on by the extreme trauma of dying. So that right there tells me, Howard Storm, your near-death experience, as much as I want to believe in it so badly, was bullshit. It's just an illusion. That song by Imagination. Could it be that? Could it be that? It's just an illusion. Could it be that? In all this confusion. Could it be that? It's just an illusion. Could it be that? It's just an illusion. Could have been that. It's just an illusion. And see, that fucking pisses me off. That fucking shit pisses my ass off, so I'm kind of fucking madly. It's all a crock of shit. All I got left is my belief in Jesus Christ. That's all I got left. I'm gonna do just enough belief in Jesus, which I believe is in my spirit. But I will be goddamn if I'm gonna waste my time being some freak out on the streets preaching, sacrificing my goddamn life when I have these goddamn doubts. Because there's no life after death. Folks, all I give a damn about is my damn self and those who love me and those I love. Those who love me well. Those who don't condone. Okay, those who love me. Let me quote this poem that fits me today. Those who love me well. Those who don't can go to hell. If you don't love me, and you know me, and you don't love me, do me a favor. Just kill yourself and go to hell. Because you people like you really fucking piss me off. How dare you not stroke my ego, you son of a bitch.